Hi, I'm Dave, back to dive a little deeper into the subject of bonds. The discussion today will revolve around bond ladders. First, let me ask you a couple of questions. How do you minimize interest rate risk while holding individual bonds, especially when bond prices are really low? How do you diversify your risk while investing in bonds? And how do you maintain liquidity and minimize the need to close out positions at a loss in order to get cash? Bond ladders can help you in all three areas, especially once you transition from saving for retirement to savoring your retirement. Now, bond ladders are not that complicated. Before you get there, you'll need to answer a few questions. Do you have a set amount that you want to invest in bonds, or do you want a set amount to mature every month? What maturity levels, or how far out are you looking? What maturity levels are you comfortable with? And lastly, how active are you in terms of managing your money? Do you do transactions every day or week, month kind of thing? Or is it more of like a quarterly adjustment you like to do? So let's start with question one. Do you have a lump sum, or do you want a fixed amount to mature every month? So let's say you've got a lump sum of $100,000 that you want to invest, and you just want to invest it over a 2-year maturity horizon. Right? So if managing your bond ladder once a month is okay, you just divide that $100,000 by 24. Right? That's the months, number of months in 2 years, giving you $41.67 per month, or $4,000. So that would translate to a ladder of $4,000 face value bond over the 24-month period. Right? Now you'd have a little bit of money left, so you could either extend the ladder to 25 months, or make a few of the positions $5,000 so you deploy the full 100K. Right? If you want, say, a $5,000 paycheck every month, with that same $100,000, you would set up a 20-month bond ladder with $5,000 face value bonds. All right. So let's see what this looks like. We'll go into Excel and just kind of look at a couple of bond ladders in those two scenarios. Okay, here are a couple of monthly bond ladders. Starting in October of 2025, right now we are in September. And I've pulled some brokerage quotes from my online broker. And I just, we're in September, so I pulled one for October. So we'll start, say, next month. If you're doing quarterly, you'd start next quarter. We'll show that in a minute. So I've got October, November, December, for the next 6 months. And then I skipped ahead 6 months to September, and then skipped ahead 6 months. We would buy one for all 24 months, but I didn't want to go and get all the quotes and build out a spreadsheet with 24 columns in it. So I'm just showing you a little bit of shorthand just to save myself a little bit of headache and make it a little bit more readable for you all. And you'll notice that I found zero coupon bonds. If I'm not looking at the 15th and 30th of every month, if I'm looking midweek or just like the 22nd, the 18th, days like that, usually I'll find zeros out there and within the 6-month time frame. And so those are nice because you don't have to coupon payments that you got to figure out what to do with. So they're kind of pure and clean. So I've got those. So when you go out beyond 6 months, you're going to see different coupon rates, right? We got 3.5%, 3.875, or 1/8% here. And with the zeros, I'm getting a discount on all of them, right? And discount on this 3.5. Over here on the 18-month, I'm paying a premium, and then I've got the 1/8%. I'm getting a pretty good discount 2 years into the future. Okay. So with my $4,000 face value bonds that I've set up for 24 months. Here's my cost, and given that I've got mostly discounts, depending on if I'm paying a premium or a discount in between, I probably have an extra $1,000 left over at the end. And so maybe I'd make one of these positions $5,000, or maybe I just have a few $100s left over and I would just stick it into a money market or something like that. All right. Or just spend it or put it somewhere else for another goal. It's whatever you want to do there. Okay. And then if I'm looking for an income replacement or potential retirement income of $5,000 a month, this would be a 20-month position going out, so $5,000 over 20 months. Right? Again, I skipped a few months here and here. This is just month 18. It would go to month 20. So $5,000 position for 20 months. And we'd be paying discount, except the premium here because our yield to maturity exceeds our coupon rate for the 18-month bond. Okay, so that's what a monthly bond ladder would look like. And if we didn't want to do a transaction every month, personally, I like to have one. For my income replacement, I've actually got a paycheck model. So I've got one on the 15th and 30th every month that matures. And I'll typically But I don't mind. I'm in there every day, and so on the 15th, oh cool, I got a bond to buy. I'll go buy a new position for my my emergency fund, right? But anyway, but if you don't like to get in here, hey, retirement, I'm playing golf, I'm not messing around with my money. Good for you. Maybe you'd set up a quarterly ladder. Okay. Same thing. If you had that $100,000 lump sum, you would divide it by 8. It's 12,500. So it's hard to find a 12.5K bond position. So what I did, I just alternated 12,013, 12, 13, 12, 13. And since you're buying a large number of these, I mean, these are larger as you move out into the future, you'll actually be able to put in an extra 13. You have an extra $500 to put into the bonds, so you can buy $101,000 for the bonds for just under $100,000. So you just have to see if you're buying mostly the bonds at a discount, which especially for the later maturities will be so. You might have a little bit more than your face value in terms of your investment, which means you can buy a little bit more face value than say the $100,000. Okay, and if I'm looking at $500,000 a month in income, I would buy a bunch of $15,000 positions, 7 of those, and since 5,000 isn't divisible by 21, it would be doesn't divide into 21. I'd buy 10,000 for my last position. All right, if I wanted to put in an extra 5, make it $105,000, then I would have a nice, seven quarters worth of bonds out here. Okay. Anyway, so that's what that would look like. All right. And then the total, again, you'd have about $520 left over with a quarterly, or about $250 left over with the lump sum. And that's, again, based on quotes that I just pulled from Schwab about a week ago, here in September of 2025. Okay. And again, they're going to have different types of coupon rates available at any given time. I'd go into Schwab and show you, but like if I'm looking for, hey, March 2027, usually I'll see 3 issues. I'll see a coupon rate of 3.875. Maybe I'll see one for 1.5. Maybe that's all I see. Maybe I'll see another one for 0.87. They'll have 2 or 3 issues that have, some liquidity. You're not gonna be able to just say, oh, I want zeros maturing on this date. Maybe you can find them. Maybe you can find them within a quarter of that. But you're not always going to have that flexibility. Right? So you just got to understand, hey, sometimes I'm going to get some coupon payments that I may or may not want. Sometimes I won't. And you just figure out what you want to do with those. All right. So that's what the ladders look like in reality. All right. So you've set up your bond ladder. How do you maintain it? Every time a bond position matures, you would use the proceeds to buy a new rung at the end of the ladder. In this case, for a monthly ladder, we'd buy an October 2027 bond when the one that for October 2025 matures, next month. Your ladder will generate some cash flow, as I mentioned. Some from coupon payments and some from the discounts you get every time you roll over a bond. You'll have $4,000 or $5,000, and then you'll buy the next one for $39.50 or $49.75. Okay. So whatever you do with those, that little cream off the top or the coupon payments, that's up to you. You may choose to extend your ladder, pad some positions in the ladder once you get up to $1,000, take the cash, or maybe you just invest it in the market. All right, now how do you invade your bond ladder for a large expense? If you're using your ladder for a long-term savings project like a new home purchase, as you think you're getting close, let those positions naturally wind down and just roll the proceeds into a money market fund. Even if you have to sell positions to make your purchase, as long as the ladder has shorter maturities, say 2 years or less, you're not going to take a lot of losses. If you don't need to close out the entire ladder, start by selling your nearer term positions first. Right? The ones that are coming up soon will have they'll be closest to your coupon. To your face value. Right? And you're not likely to lose much at all in value. Okay. Now, what if you want to set up a bond ladder for a future event, such as long-term care? For a long-term goal, I'd recommend inflation-protected treasuries, or TIPS. Any bond holdings going beyond 3 to 5 years should have inflation protection, unless you're deliberately taking a position in longer-term bonds as part of your comprehensive investment strategy. Note the TIPS are issued with 5, 10, and 30-year maturities, although the 30s can be hard to find. All right, so you might have to have some creativity in constructing a TIPS bond ladder beyond 10 years. Work with your broker, but maybe you could, say, buy a 10-year position and then when that matures, then build out the bond ladder, because they are pretty liquid within a 10-year time frame. All right. TIPS do have a lower coupon rate than traditional bonds, but the cool thing is the face value increase with inflation, right, based on the consumer price index. So as the face value increases, the coupon payments will maintain the original percentage to face. So the coupon payment will actually go up as well. All right. So I'll share more tips about TIPS in a follow-on video, and I'll post the link here when it's available. Now let's get back to the 3 questions I asked at the start of the video. First, we talked about minimizing interest rate risk. Now, by holding individual bonds of varying maturities through their maturity dates, you are spreading that interest rate risk out across a multiple year period. If rates go up, you have the ability to capture the increased rates as you revolve your ladder. And you're not forced to close out losing positions if you're setting up the ladder for the right reasons. Diversification. Now, not only are we diversifying across maturity dates, but we also have the ability to diversify across types of bonds. Right? I didn't show this in the example, but a ladder could include different bond types like corporates, inflation protected, municipal bonds, or even CDs to diversify the types of holdings. Right? And then you have different risks associated with each, and different interest rates or coupon rates. The strategy could make sense for a general purpose ladder. It's just part of your portfolio as opposed to a goal-based ladder. Typically with a goal-based ladder, I'm just going to go with treasuries. And then TIPS if they're a longer term one. Right? Now, liquidity and cash flow management is the other rationale. Bond ladders do give you access to your cash quickly, especially if you need only a portion of it. A monthly bond ladder spread out over a couple of years gives you access to 1/8 of your cash within 3 months without selling anything at a loss. Positions maturing inside of a year can easily be liquidated for very little principal loss. They're especially good for income replacement planning, as they can mimic your desired paycheck, both on the amount and frequency. Now, use caution with a ladder for a targeted lump sum cash need that has an unpredictable rate, because you don't want to have to liquidate your positions, right? So I hope you feel like you know a little bit more now about bond ladders and how you might use them to meet the liquidity, cash flow management, diversification, and interest rate risk management goals that you have in your portfolio. I'd love to hear how you're using ladders and if you have any tips for the rest of us. Again, my name is Dave, and I'm here to talk to you about your money.